Mike Maniscalco with the play-by-play, and this is for us locally here, a radio-only game. The game is on TNT tonight. Second nationally televised game of the season for the Hurricanes. The opener against Tampa was an ESPN Plus event. This one is on TNT. I think the next radio-only, again, meaning no, FanDuel TV game. The next radio-only game, I believe, is in the first week of December.
It might be. Walt Ruff put it out on his X, if you want to know for sure. It might be December 17th against the Islanders at home. That might just be another one that they have coming up.
Yeah, there's 11 games this year that are nationally televised, but this one is on TNT tonight, so it's a little bit later start, 7:30 start. So if you're listening locally, then it will start. The pregame show will start at 7.
Yes, December 17th, New York Islanders, 7:30 on ESPN Plus and Hulu.
Yeah.
Next time we get prime time with the Canes.
Yeah. So there was a time where we were dreading the ESPN Plus games. Remember? Like, oh my gosh, we're playing on ESPN Plus. We're going to get routed because, the first 4, they were.
I was at the very first one where they played the Columbus Blue Jackets at home. I had great seats and watched them get beat 8-0 at home.
Gosh, why don't I remember 8-0? It was, I know they got worked on all of those games, and obviously Carolina's been good, really good. So these were anomalies, but. I think they have sort of turned that around. Tonight's a big game for them. They're trying to kind of reestablish. Remember they won 7 in a row, 8. I don't even remember. Yep. I think 7 in a row, right? So or 8 in a row. I think they had won, and now they're trying to get back to going on another. You need winning streaks. You want to win the division, and they can absolutely win the division. You want to do that, you need winning streaks. Right now, the Hurricanes are 1 point behind the Capitals. Capitals have played one more game, and it was a tie. I'm sorry, overtime loss. Sorry. There are no ties anymore. So the Hurricanes are 1 point behind Washington with a game in hand. So you win this game, you jump back over them. The Rangers have been good. I think the Rangers are good. They've shown some warts, right? I mean, Mika Zibanejad not off to a great start, although I think he's starting to show signs of coming out of it. The Rangers have always been a little bit of a top-heavy team. Most of their scoring has been done on the power. Not most, but a lot of their scoring has been done on the power play. Hey, and that's fine. They count. But so they haven't been quite as good 5-on-5. But offensively, they got off to a little bit of a slow start this year. But the Rangers, we know how good they are. We know how good their goaltending is. Plus, their personnel is through the roof.
This will be an interesting game for the Canes just because the first time that they played 2 weeks ago, the Flyers were sitting dead last in the Metro Division, and they still put up a good fight at Lenovo Center. They're now currently tied for 5th in a division. They're coming off a little bit of a win streak of their own.
They're 4-1-1 in their last 6, so they are playing better. They're not necessarily scoring more goals. Their overall team defense has gotten a little bit better, but their goaltending on paper looks like a mess. So Samuel Urson, who was supposed to be their starter, is hurt. So Kolosov, who played here for them, I assume, I have not seen what their lineup is yet tonight. I assume will play tonight. And I have no idea who's going to play in goal for the Hurricanes. You could make the argument that you would go Martin today, Kochetkov tomorrow against the Devils, the better team, but I don't know. I thought Kochetkov played very, very well against St. Louis because I didn't think Carolina was particularly good. Also, in that game you're referencing against the Flyers where Carolina won 6-4, the Hurricanes were actually ahead in that game twice and gave the lead back both times because they decided against the Flyers that day to completely mismanage the puck for basically the entire game. They put way too much pressure on their goaltender, and that night it was Pyotr Kochetkov, and he couldn't handle it. even with that said, there weren't a lot of chances. They were just all bangers. Like, how are the Hurricanes allowing this to happen? I thought Philadelphia was opportunistic. Carolina's goaltending wasn't great in that game. Kochetkov wasn't. I even openly wondered whether or not they would go back to him 2 nights later against Pittsburgh. They did, and he played very well against the Penguins. Really did. Played very well. So, and then they went to Spencer Martin in Colorado, and I thought Spencer Martin played really well and gave up 5 goals. I thought he played well in the second period and gave up 5 goals in that period. Anyway, if they go back to Kochetkov tonight, which is possible, I'll be curious because what Kochetkov hasn't really done is strung together a bunch of good games in a row. He's sort of been all over the place. He's sort of been, like I've joked about the EKG machine. He's kind of been an EKG. And he can't be. We need stability. When Freddie Anderson is healthy, you mostly get stability from Freddie. You usually don't get, wow, that was great. Wow, that was bad. You usually get, hey, that was solid. And that's what Rob Brind'amour wants more than anything. Just give me solid. We'll take care of the rest. Just give me solid. And they haven't always gotten that from Piotr this year. So he was, I thought, excellent. To me, he was the first star of the game against St. Louis on Sunday. They need that from him. They need him to be solid. Bail him out once in a while, but be solid. And he wasn't that, I thought, against Philadelphia the first game. So, but I talked about the certain things that were not going to maintain pace. If you look at Martin Necas right now, and I am in no way throwing shade on him because he has been every single thing they have wanted. Well,
right.
Obviously, a lot more than they wanted, but you'll take it. The 2 goals he scored against St. Louis on Sunday, those were gifts. I didn't think they were particularly great goaltending plays, if you will, by Joel Hofer, St. Louis's goalie. But they were also, the puck just fell to him. Wasn't a play that was created. Well, the first one sort of was, but it was still lucky that the puck came to him because the pass from Eric Robinson was deflected, and it just fell right to him in the slot. But also I think that first shot went through him, went through the goalie, Hofer, hit him and still went in. And the second one was, you really scored that. Because it probably is one that the goaltender should have stopped. But when things are going well, which is why you've heard me say this, if Martin Necas passes you the puck, don't ask questions, just shoot it.
Yeah.
I don't care where you are. Right now, he is just, racking up points. Get on board. If he passes it to you, it'll go in. That's just the way things have gone these days. You look at his shooting percentage, it's like 25%. He's not going to shoot 25% all year. He just isn't. Nobody does. McDavid doesn't. Ovechkin, none of these guys do it. So Necas is taking advantage of wild shooting percentages. So if it's going to revert to the mean. So what happens when it does? Does Necas go 6 games without a point when it reverts to the mean? I certainly hope not. And if he does, which would be okay, it happens, does Aho, Svechnikov, maybe Jarvis is back, or somebody else, do they pick up the slack? And we've talked about the Hurricanes right now look like, if not the best team in the East, certainly on the short list of teams that are going to compete at the very top of the conference. Florida, Rangers, Carolina. You can put them in whatever order you want. I'm not really ordering them, but those to me are the 3 best teams. Tampa's played pretty well. Toronto looks like they're getting it back. The Devils are starting to play a little bit better too. So we'll see them tomorrow. But I think Carolina's going to be right at the top of the conference. But in order to do that, And if you think about them through 17 games, they've done this without, I'm not saying no games, but no stretches of the best offensively from Aho.
Correct.
Or Svechnikov. So at the beginning of the season, and maybe this is where, because the head coach occasionally does listen, he's heard me talk about the Hurricanes have needed big bats in the middle of their lineup. If you think about it like a baseball lineup, you got to have guys who hit the ball out of the ballpark in the middle of your lineup.
Who's your cleanup hitter?
Right? So that's what they've needed. Necas definitely has been. But the other three players going into the season that we were hoping would be those players, Jarvis, Aho, Svechnikov, all have been good. Not great.
Well, I feel a lot better now than I did last week when I filled in about Sebastian Aho because he was getting ready to tread towards 15 games without a goal in that Utah game. And then this past Saturday, finally got the monkey off his back by scoring a goal on the power play. And as you mentioned, the Canes' corner, he did it last year against Ottawa, coincidentally enough, and then was on track to go ahead and have another 30-goal scoring season.
Well, he ended up with, I think, 35 goals during the year. Here's the thing. He has no 5-on-5 goals yet this year at all. None. The goal he scored against Ottawa was a 5-on-3 goal. Hey, again, they count. So I'm not disparaging him for doing that. But what we haven't seen yet from Aho and Svechnikov is, as a tandem on that line with Jack Roslovic, we haven't seen them be super dynamic over the course of an entire game. We have seen none of that. Now, there's a lot of room between being great and being bad. He's not been bad. He's been good. He just hasn't been good in the way that the Hurricanes kind of need him to be good, which is dominate games offensively. And Rod Brind'amour has even slipped of late, calling them they're our top line. They need to be on the score sheet. And there have been too many nights where they, as at 5-on-5, they haven't been. Not too many nights, most nights where they haven't been on the score sheet 5-on-5. And you know what speaks to that? Even though it's a misleading stat, there are two players on Carolina's roster who are minus players, Aho and Svechnikov. Everybody else on the roster is plus. Everybody, except for Aho and Svechnikov. Theoretically speaking, they're two best offensive players going into the season. So, it speaks to not being great 5-on-5. Not being offensively great at 5-on-5. That's where this, to me, this has been great. They're winning a lot of games. They're not even getting they're getting good enough goaltending. They're not even getting their best goaltending. It would help to have Freddie Anderson, because Anderson through 4 games is amazing. But we'll see this team really take off in terms of its play. It's hard to do better than 13-4. But we'll see them take off in terms of their play when 20-37 start playing better with the puck. And tonight in Philly, tomorrow in New Jersey, Saturday in Columbus really gets you ready for Dallas, Rangers, Florida in a 6-day span. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday.
Buckle up.
Next week. That is going to be an epic week of Hurricanes hockey. So let's start it off on the right foot tonight in Philadelphia.